evolving, as we saw from the very first session of the day, where Manish, who actually has a job in Twitter and sport, which would have been unheard of some time ago. But it just shows that how Twitter plays such an important role in sport and vice versa. It's a medium that you consume live, you consume it on televisions, but everything's streaming. So even a television network knows that today people might want to consume it on live streaming. But it's gone a step beyond that. Now, as we said, in a week's time, you're going to be able to watch an NFL game in America live, not on a television channel, not on YouTube, but actually on Twitter as a platform. So that itself, I think, outlines how important it is for sports and sports people. Because the whole idea of engaging with fans, you can find many ways of doing it, but I think Twitter seems one of the ways, which is not Facebook, is maybe personal or whether it's a personal page or anything else. Instagram is maybe only pictures. This interaction, I think, 140 characters works as a great formula for social interaction.
Talk about social media and the benefits of breaking the geographic barriers.
Well, I think it's scary to know that at times when someone's reacting to something you say, in any other medium, the person would be somewhere close to you. I mean, in the vicinity, in the city, maybe even in the country. But here you suddenly realize if you've got 10 people who have followed you or 10 people who have reacted. Someone's from Ukraine, someone's from the US, someone's from all over the place. So suddenly you realize that, hang on, this is not restricted to just your own place. Just because I may tweet on cricket, just because I may have tweeted on fashion, it's not, the space is not restricted. So you get responses from everywhere.
So in your opinion, what's the difference between a expert and a non-expert?
I think that's interesting because using cricket as an example, and cricket has had armchair experts for the last 50 years. Before there was, forget Twitter, before there was television, before there was radio. Everyone who went to the ground, if you were growing up, depending on which era you were, 50s, the 60s, the 70s, before live television actually took you away from the ground. Those days, why was every sports stadium packed? Because you didn't have an option. Today, you have to really strive hard to get it back. Even in those days, you had people who had an opinion. Everyone had a reason to say. Standing in the 105th row of the biggest fan over there, they could see that the guy bowled a no ball, they could see that his technique was wrong. And that whole thing is now translated into this new era of saying that, okay, everyone's an expert. But if you had to really define it, well, on the face of it, an expert should be someone who's played the game. But I still don't agree there. And I'll take a quick example here of a former Indian cricketer called V.S. Chandrasekhar, who was a legend, one of the great cricketers of all time. But you ever ask him a question about the game, about his bowling spell, or do you have memories when he took 8 wickets on that day, he'd be like, no, I just played the game. I'm not a student of the game. So I think there's two levels. One is an expert who, through doing homework and through being a student of the game and an appreciator of the game, has a right to call himself an expert. The other is a person who's played the game and can communicate well. So it's not that just because you played the game means you're a good communicator. So I think overall that word should still remain a little ambiguous, because at the end of the day, it's how you communicate. Just because you have it within you and you played the game, you can't communicate it. A lot of people would think, okay, so you're not the expert. They're not wrong.
Let's talk about the less mainstream sports, apart from cricket, tennis, and Formula One. So how does social media help the less mainstream sports?
Well, I think in many places they're not really less mainstream except in India. So in an Indian context, cricket is so overbearing that other sports are suffering. We've had this eternal debate of why do India not do well in other sports. And personally, my conclusion is it's not chicken and egg. The winning comes first, the popularity comes later. Cricket, a few decades ago, the Indian team started winning. They won a World Cup, they won another World Cup. They won a World Championship in 2007 of the T20 format. Before that, India didn't want to play T20. So suddenly, if you start winning, then you start succeeding. And also, players have evolved as having some sort of an appeal. Call it sex appeal, call it anything. Cricket has sexed up, and other sports have. Simple as that. So, but coming back to your question, I think Twitter can play a huge role in doing exactly that, in glamorizing people who are otherwise in a non-glamorous sport. Okay, a Saina Nehwal, a PV Sindhu, we only see them sweating it out and we forget about it. But if Saina can become a pop personality on Twitter, Sindhu, we've seen her wearing some flowing outfits and post her medal. She's still keeping her public memory up. So we see that, okay, she's not all that bad looking, you know, she has a personality on Twitter, so we don't have to keep ogling at Virat Kohli. So you give them a personality, give them a chance to express themselves. So you see a human side to them. And it's not just about being eloquent, it's about saying that, okay, this is who I am, I'm actually a person, and this will do good for all other people.
So let's talk about athletes as public figures. You know, is it important for them to keep up their personas on social media?
I think it's huge. We briefly talked about it. You know, there's two sides. One is they need to be remembered, and two is they need to bring their personality out on social media. We use the example of Virendra Sehwag, and I think it's a very good example because his playing days are over. Yes, he may play a role as a commentator, but unless he was active on social media and people saying, okay, the way Sehwag batted, he tweets. So great, now we can keep following him. He has life after cricket. So same way, I think it's important for all sports people when they are playing sport and after sport to continue to engage with fans. I'm not even saying only people who are finished playing. Someone like Ravichandran Ashwin in the Indian team is pretty active even while he's playing. And he knows his boundary. He knows he's not going to cross a barrier or criticize someone unnecessarily. Sometimes it's about having a fun jibe at an opponent. But it's all about building your personality, the memory, and it helps build yourself as a person.
What about sports ambassadors? How important are they in, you know, the sporting world, creating conversations, you know, to encourage other sports or promoting campaigns, events? How important are they?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I mean, any of these people I mentioned, some of them could actually act as a sporting ambassador, not just for the sport, for themselves, for the public, to give some credibility. So again, if you're coming back to that debate about in the Indian context, about other sports other than cricket, if you had good active sports ambassadors, that would be a starting point. A sports ambassador is not going to be able to win you the next Football World Cup, right? But at least if you know you have a target in mind and he is active on the spoken word and saying things that, I think I found a lot of talent. I think this is the way we can go about it. Then there's a lot of credibility and that's when the sport will move forward. So I think that there's a definitely platform and starting point.
So what are we not doing yet on social media in regards to the sporting world compared to other countries?
Well, I think it's maybe making more personalities out of a lot of sports people. Simple as that. I think there should be a joint platform maybe where you have, you know, just like you talk about an app or a version of Twitter which allows you to get scores. So if you set up a notification, then you will get, for tennis say, so you will get 8 p.m. every day, as I said, a notification, everything, the biggest breaking story on the day. So similarly, if you could perhaps have the same thing where you have people who are glorified even more, who maybe don't have 2.6 million followers on Twitter, get their viewership up and get everybody to be on an even keel. So, you know, Sakshi Malik should be recognized thanks to that as much as Virat Kohli, which sadly is totally not the case right now. Even though you imagine Rio's just happened recently. He's won a medal. And yet, my own personal experience yesterday, seeing her at a crowded, bustling airport, nobody knew.
Last question, Radha. Could you describe social media using 5 adjectives?
Well, plywood, and I would like to say it's instant, impactful, interesting, innovative, and to stick to the I think, if you use the right methods, it can become iconic.